From rare to absolutely shocking, this is the rarest artifacts ever discovered. The Terracotta Army. In March 1974, a group of Chinese farmers were starting to dig a well for water, but before they dug even halfway, they noticed that there were pieces of clay in the dirt. At first, they didn't really care and kept digging, but they realized that the pieces of clay were from life-size clay soldiers. They immediately called up archaeologists, and once they dug up the area, what they found was a shocking 8,000 life-size clay soldiers. The Terracotta Army was right next to the tomb of the very first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huang, dating back all the way to 210 BC, who told workers to start constructing the statues. Qin Shi Huang had over 700,000 unpaid laborers to construct the tomb because he believed that the statues would protect him in the afterlife. This was such a rare find because 1. How old these statues were, and 2. Because of the crazy amount of detail that went into each soldier. There isn't one soldier with the same face or armor, and each were hand painted, meaning it could have taken weeks for just one soldier to be created. Although the paint isn't visible now because it was flaked off once the sculptures were exposed to air. Much of the Terracotta Army still hasn't been dug. The actual tomb of Qin Shi Huang still hasn't been excavated either, so if the army was by the tomb, one could imagine what the actual tomb would look like. The next one on our list is the Moai. Okay, I just have to say, we all know at least one person who looks like this, and if you don't know anyone who looks like this, you're that person. It all starts with Jacob Roggeveen, an explorer in the 1700s, accidentally stumbled upon a mysterious island while on an adventure. You may know this island as Easter Island because Jacob had the great idea to name it Easter Island as it was the holiday Easter Sunday. As he is exploring this new land, he finds tons of statues all over the island. Jacob and his other explorers were baffled. Who made this? Why did they make this? And why does this kinda look like this guy? Well, hundreds of years earlier, people called the Rapa Nui carved the Moai from volcanic stone. They created these statues to represent their ancestors who watches over and protects the villagers. The mystery isn't really how they were created, but how exactly were they moved. You see, each statue weighed at least 75 tons, and this is the 1500s on an island in the middle of nowhere, so they didn't really have the best tools for the job. Some theories say that they were rolled on logs or dragged on sleds, but some theories say that the statues walked. And that theory isn't as crazy as you think. Experiments prove that the Rapa Nui could have tied ropes around their heads and rocked the Moai side to side. These are such rare artifacts because not only it was found on the most remote locations on Earth, but it also tells a story on what happened to the Rapa Nui. Many of the statues were knocked over by other tribes. Rival tribes would try to build bigger statues to intimidate the others. There was chaos all around the island. War broke out and each tribe tried to take as much resources as they could, and eventually they killed most of each other off, along with other factors like the explorers bringing in new diseases and the Peruvian slave raids. Our next one is the Baghdad Battery. It's 1936 in what is now present-day Iraq, and an archaeologist named Wilhelm found what he thought to be a simple ancient pot. When he looked inside, there was a piece of copper shaped like a cylinder with an iron rod. He realized that this was a primitive version of a battery dating all the way back to 200 BC. Wilhelm was freaked out, so he immediately took it to a lab to be examined. When examiners refilled the pot with an acidic liquid like vinegar, it immediately produced an electric charge, which was about 1 volt of electricity. Some scientists believe that it was used for electroplating, which is the process of layering one piece of metal onto another. But some archaeologists said it wasn't because of electroplating, since there was no found objects in the area that were electroplated, and that it could have been used for something else entirely. No, for like rituals and stuff. The Rosetta Stone. This one random stone changed the entire history of the world as we know it. It's 1799 in Egypt during the French invasion, and a group of French soldiers are building a fort. During the construction, they find a large mysterious slab made out of stone. At first, they just thought it was another Egyptian relic with hieroglyphs on it, which was useless to them as hieroglyphics were from a language that had died thousands of years ago, and the text was undecipherable. But But once they dug it out, they noticed that it wasn't all hieroglyphs. At the bottom, it was Demotic script and ancient Greek. Both of these languages were still alive and decipherable. This was a direct translation to hieroglyphics, a language that was once literally undecipherable. The Rosetta Stone was created by a pharaoh named King Ptolemy V. The message pretty much said, "Hello everyone, this is King Ptolemy V. I'm your new ruler and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'm pretty cool and awesome, so you have to create statues of me and worship me. Thanks, KP." But aside from the actual message, it was translated in 3 languages and was a literal key to the entire language of ancient Egypt that was once completely lost. It was immediately studied by translators, which took years and years to decipher. They finally understood that these weren't drawings or pictures, but an extremely complex language. If it wasn't for that one rock, hieroglyphics today still may have been untranslatable. The Antikythera mechanism, aka the first ever computer. During the 1900s, off the Greek island Antikythera, some divers were exploring a shipwreck, finding statues, jewelry, and pottery. One guy picked up a rusty clump with strange looking shapes inside of it. They probably thought it was a piece of art, so they put it in storage. It sat for years and years until it was put on display at a museum, and a Greek politician noticed that the mysterious shapes were actually gears. It was taken for examination and separated into 3 pieces, where the researchers found multiple other gears inside. They were extremely precise, yet from the rust and the shipwreck that the divers found it from, it shows that this mechanism was from 60 to 70 BC, most likely built by an ancient Greek craftsman. The Antikythera mechanism was a calculator tracking movements of the sun and moon, able to predict eclipses decades into the future, and was also used as a calendar tracking special events like the Olympic Games, which only happens every 4 years. There was still no other mechanism found from that time, and it brings up the question of how advanced and genius were the ancient civilizations before us.